This is a $4 mouse that I customized to use a rechargeable battery. And as you can see, when you turn it on, it actually works. And you have a USB-C cable, plug it in, it actually charges. And this was all done with just super cheap parts, and honestly, anyone can do it. This just changes a AA battery slot to a rechargeable battery. You can also use this on AAA battery slots, but the issue with that is you're gonna have to trim a hole. But you don't have to trim a hole with this AA battery slot. So let's do a little walkthrough of how you can create your own rechargeable wireless mouse. So why would you want to mod a cheap mouse like this, right? Why would you want to make it rechargeable? So there's 5 ideas, right? First one is it's cheap. It's cheap and it's fun to mess around with. And I dropped this guy on the ground 4 times in the past 2 hours. Just like from this height, just like a boom. And it's been fine, right? And I'm not worried about it because I can just buy a new one, and I don't really want to buy a new one. So if this breaks, it's fine. Second is its fun factor. Putting this together was so much fun, and I have new ideas, and I'm getting creative. I want to put like a little thing to make it so that it stays in this diagonal position, and I want to 3D print something. Next is modability. This is super modability and like moddable, and because of how simple the PCB is, it's very easy to put components on and stuff. Fourth is its PCB. Its PCB is super simple, and you're able to mess with it in so many different ways. This is kind of a key factor of it, and because of how small the PCB is and all the junk that it doesn't have, you can put much more stuff up here. I was planning on putting an RGB wheel up here. There wasn't much reason for me to, but I definitely could. And there's points where I can actually add on better switches or anything that I actually really end up wanting. And then next is its learning, right? You get to learn how to make a mouse like this and how to add on all these things. If you're new to creating things, this is a super simple way of learning, and it's very, very fun and effective. So the first thing you're gonna do is open up your mouse. When you take off the back, you should see a few screws. On cheap mice, there should just be like 2 or so, and there might be some hidden under here. I recommend using your fingernail and just going like this to feel for holes. After doing that, just get your screwdriver and unscrew any screws that you have. And it's a very simple process, just like that. 1. It should just be a Phillips head because these are cheap mice. But this does actually work on any mouse with a AA battery slot, just as long as it's big enough. And I'll explain what's big enough. With 2 out, you just kind of go like this and pop it off. And this is the top. Let's get a little walkthrough of that. So you have these 2 right here, and that's how you interact with the mouse buttons. You have a scroll wheel, and that's about it. There's structural support that I'll talk about a bit later. And this is my mouse. This is my battery, and this is where I put it. And I recommend getting a 200 milliamp hour battery, and this guy that I talked about a bit earlier. This is a USB-C rechargeable thing, and it has 4 wires running out of it. So let's take off this, and let's talk about what's actually inside. So take it off. It's just taped on. And you shouldn't have a mouse you shouldn't have a battery here, but this is just my own thing. Let's get a little understanding of how this mouse works. So right here you got an LED. This is a red LED. You got your camera, you got your scroll wheel, you got your 2 mouse buttons, and then this is to click down for the scroll wheel. And honestly, I won't lie to you, you don't have to go any further. You can, but there's not much reason to. So right here, all you need to do is solder 2 wires. As you can see right here, this one says bat minus, and my camera's not focusing, but I'll put one on screen a bit. I'll put what I'm saying on screen a bit later. There's a bat minus right there, and there's a bat plus down here. And yes, this does require soldering. So you take your battery and you solder it to 2 points on your charger. Your charger, which I'll put up on screen again, has a bat minus and a bat plus. And you solder those 2 points to the battery, and that's that for the battery. You leave the battery alone for the rest of the thing. And then you have 2 more wires, the extra wires that should say, what is that? Out minus and out plus. Out minus just goes to your bat minus on the mouse, and out plus just goes to the battery plus spot on your mouse. And then you can shove your charger anywhere you want. You can shove it out here to charge, and then you'll have to trim your case. You can shove it back here to trim your case, but I like to use the AA battery slot as you don't have to do any trimming whatsoever. Next, let's look at where to put your battery, right? And it depends on the size of your battery. if your battery is like literally 50 milliamp hours, like I have one that's like that, you can put it anywhere you want and it shouldn't cause any issue. You can even put it into the AA battery slot if you want. Just right there, it'll definitely fit. But with this guy, it's a bit different of a story. You have to make sure that it can fit. And I chose this spot right here because there's the most space right there. As you can see, there's a hump and it goes up and down. So I want to fit it into that spot. So let's do this. First, I have to think about where it'll be on this side. And I decided to put it right here because this will allow for pretty much anything, right? I just kind of finesse it down with tape, and this is about the middle. You don't have to be that exact. If you want to, you can be more exact, but I liked where it was put, just like that. And you can cover up the dongle spot because it shouldn't cause much of an issue. As you can see, you can pull it out and you just push it back in, and it generally looks fine. And that's about it. Because of how small your mouse PCB is, it allows for a battery to be added on, just like this, and it's super simple. Then you just kind of chuck this on top, and make sure that you route your wires through little gaps. If there's little gaps in here, I'd recommend using them to your fullest advantage. So you just kind of push the wires into the little gaps that you can find, you try and pull them out, and then it's easy, and you just kind of squish it down. And you might want to do some work to try and help it to make your wires look a bit neater. But honestly, you won't be looking at this much. You just give it one go and you're good to go. And you just leave it like that. And you're done. You just kind of put the top back on. Make sure that you fit it on properly in the fashion that your mouse is meant to be. And as you can see, this kind of just goes like that. But that shouldn't be a big issue as your screws will hold that back in. And you just screw it in. You're just starting 8 points. You're doing 4 to the battery charger, 2 to the battery side, and 2 to the mouse side. That's literally it. And just screw back in your mouse right here, and just like that, it's screwed in. And you might have this issue where this guy's poking out so much, and obviously you can't close it like that, and you can't use it like that either. Just kind of push it down and make it fill up the space. Next, you might want to try to push this a bit back and push your wires in, because you kind of want to get a little diagonal, and depending on how it is, it might be easier to get a diagonal further back, because a diagonal will allow for easier charging, like I showed at the start of the video, just like this. And it makes more sense to do this. So just give it a little diagonal, and that's about it. It should just stick like that. You can use hot glue to hold it in if you're sure, but hot glue might not hold. Put your back on, and it's that simple.